Hello, and welcome back. My name is Jackblade, and today we are checking out 10 must-have blueprints, in my opinion, or rather, blueprint chains, styles, sets. Because at the end of this, you can probably make 200 blueprints just from the starting point that I want to show you guys today. So, without any further ado, let's get into this video. So blueprint number one is one you've probably seen 1,000 times, and I want to show you this. Having a blueprint that just contains foundations, it can be any like type of foundation, it can be like any size of the foundation or anything like that. But having a complete or multiple different versions of a complete 4x4, or later when you unlock the larger ones, the like 5x5 or 6x6 foundation floors, to very quickly be able to brick a large area. Very, very important. Like, it takes minutes instead of, or rather it takes fewer minutes. It still takes only minutes with the zoop mode and stuff like that, but you know what I mean. Essentially, what I want to add on to with this one is, if we go in, and I'm gonna show you a different one. Here's a variant where you have a logistics floor. So when you smack down and cover an entire area, you have your logistics floor already built in. This one kind of makes use of the assumption that you don't really use lumen, so you don't really have to care about light as much, where you have like power nodes already plugged in, so you can very easily create like a power network throughout your building. There's like this nice simple, stylish pillar in the middle. I made it very, very simple, very, very cheap, because I want to also upload all of these blueprints so they are available for you guys on my drive. So if in the blueprints folder, there is going to be a number, like a lot of blueprints. You can see yourself, like all of these blueprints will be available to you in that Google Drive. So if you want to check them out, then definitely head on over. I made a third version of this over here, where that is like more, okay, we're going a little bit more advanced. Like, you're using lumen, you've gotten a little bit into the game. Like, these are Mark II wall outlets for more connection points. You have like your lighting built into the whole thing so that you can have very, very nice, like you can very, very easily see. So if you go here and let this light up, you can see that like you still have the light required to see. Can I fly? Thank you. And that's basically like the first kind of blueprint, is have like a set of blueprints that is literally just like, I am floor, more floor. I need more floor, give me more floor. That's it. And you can do that with different kinds of things. So floors, walls, general, just like architectural templates that makes it so that you kind of have like can create a cohesive style for yourself when like for your save. Though this is one version of that. So take this for what you want, and I hope you like that one. And if you really, really enjoy this, then make sure that you subscribe, like the video, and give me your opinion. Like, I rate them 1 to 5. Rate every blueprint 1 to 5 of blueprints like set here. The second one are conveyor and pipe buses. As you can see, they are like, this one I have set with a pillar underneath. This has a corresponding decorative element that I will show you guys later. That is essentially like a pillar, like a bus I can run, that has 4 Mark III belts and 10 pipes, so that I can run fluids and I can run solid objects anywhere I want, just very easily smack down a ton of blueprints that has all of this. You can like have different sets of this. So for example, this one has the foundations and everything already set into it, but you don't need to. So this one, for example, is a big bus that has no foundations in it, so that you can pretty much place it onto any existing architecture, meaning that it's a lot more usable. And I did versions of this as well, where you have literally like the 16 belt bus, and then I have all the way down to a, let's see, where did I hide all of these? Is it just the 16 belt bus? Where's the rest? Where's my other ones? There should be other ones. They're just not here. Okay, well, here's the smaller variant. So you have a 16 belt bus. There should be an 8 belt bus and then a 4 belt bus in these blueprints. That's essentially like makes it easier. Like if I'm just running 1 or 2 belts, I can do that manually. Like I don't care. It's gonna be about as fast as placing the blueprints. But if I am placing like 4, 8, 16 belts, like it's going to be a lot of resources being moved about by a belt bus. I definitely want blueprints for it. And having as many as possible of the like logistics infrastructure blueprints as you can that are just like general use. Like I'm moving resource from A to B, I'm doing a like priority system or whatever it is. Have that. So that's the second one. Let's move to our third. And here we just literally mentioned this. Priority systems, load balancers, anything that involves actual like splitting or merging of items to create a specific ratio for different belts, you should have. On top of that, like in my opinion, they kind of like combine and kind of like overlap. But then at the same time, and a reason why I've placed out the 8 conveyor bus over here is because these kind of mesh. So if you're running a bus, it has to run into something. And most of the time it needs to run into, in this case here, you have a belt priority system that moves everything to the left. Like it's a super compact system that overflows anything from this one over to the second belt. And this one overflows forwards. So that any of this is moved onto this belt and forward on this belt. So if you take multiple of these, if I go into blueprints and I go pick that one up, I would place them like this to use them, right? So I have one here, and then I place another one to plug into it, and another one to plug into that. So I am constantly moving things left. And doing that means that I will, like, if that belt's full, it will start filling the second belt. If that belt's full, it will start filling the third belt. If that belt's full, it will also filling the fourth, and then the fifth will have whatever's left over. That's essentially belt priority systems. So if you have 5, 6, 7 belts, like in this case, you could plug in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 belts, right? I didn't miscount that. No, I counted that right. You could plug in 5 belts with various different numbers on it. Like here's 70, here's 90, here's 110, here's 200. Just plug that straight in here with the highest number always going here, and you will be fine. You will then have your belt priority system set up and working. Like having that as like set that up so that it functions in cohesion with your other blueprints is a essential thing you need to save a lot of time, because one of the biggest time drains there is in the game is like trying to figure this out. And if you don't have a functioning system, like this one goes left, like right to left, it prioritizes to the left. This one prioritizes down. So you have like the same kind of plugin. You would plug it like this, like diagonal up, to move items down constantly. And this one moves like does exactly the same thing, trying to keep it compact with no clipping. Like because if we use clipping, we can make it even more compact. But no clipping and all that kind of stuff. This will save so much time because I don't have to like constantly reimagine or reinvent moving things to the left or moving things down, which makes it a lot easier for me to very quickly handle large amounts of belts, moving a lot of resources from different purity nodes, from different output like amounts in machines and all that kind of stuff. So having these set up very like helps a lot when dealing with high amounts of stuff. Remember, and I'm gonna mention this a couple of times just to make sure that people remember, all of this is with the assumption that you're in phase 2. You haven't unlocked like pipes Mark 2, you haven't unlocked belts Mark 4, you are currently using belts Mark 3, and you have like probably access to smart splitters and like all that kind of stuff. So that like it makes a few of those assumptions. And if you don't know what smart splitters are, they are an upgrade of the normal splitter where you can dictate rules for which what the output should do, or if you even want to, you can put in filters. We're going to talk about those in a little bit. Now let's move on to our next blueprint. The next blueprint are manifold and processing like templates. So in this case, I have set up a 2 wide or 2, yeah, what is that? 2 deep, 4 wide, and then, if I remember correctly, the logistics floor is 8 meters tall. So there is a logistics floor built into this that handles making iron ingots for me. And as a result, I can just smack down one of these very quickly, and it will handle 120 iron ore. But all of the power is already set up. All of the like logistics in terms of splitters and mergers and that kind of stuff, that's always already set up. And having this for like all of the stuff, having that for all the recipes that you can do in a smelter. If we go into smelters, you should have 4 blueprints: the pure aluminium ingot, 1 for Kytherium, 1 for copper, 1 for the iron. If you're dealing with constructors instead, like if I load a different blueprint here, let's go into, boom, the reanimated SAM constructor with a logistics floor. It's literally the same kind of blueprint that uses 4 constructors, and the purpose of it is to make the SAM or reanimated SAM. So I have this set up, and I should have setups that can handle pretty much everything that I am trying to build that uses constructors specifically. And like, it doesn't have to be with the logistics floor. It can quite as easily be like just as easily be without the logistics floor. I just am a big enjoyer of clean looking factories that doesn't have a shit ton of pipes and like belts and stuff like that, like going about above. If I have that, it is very intentional as decoration. So it should be like, if it's not for decoration, it's probably going to turn into a messy spaghetti. And this is a great way of keeping away from that messy spaghetti. Then you can combine this, like with the buses. So you can very quickly like smack down a large scale factory without having to spend hundreds of hours building that. And like the bigger things become, like the more single machines you have to do and stuff like that. Especially with like particle accelerators and stuff like that. But this works, and having a bunch of these ready to go, if you look here, you can see I have concrete, I have the copper, iron, I have Kytherium, I have quickwire, quartz, silica, I have like a ton of different, like all of these are just like to make it a lot easier for me to just smack down like what I need with a single click. And if I've made a mistake, I can just delete it all in one click and go fix, and then it's done. So very, very, very important. Now let's move on to something a little bit less functional, but still good. We're talking about decorations. And decorations are super important in my opinion, especially if you're playing with Lumen on. Then decorations become a, how should I put this? Let's see if I can grab, let's grab this. If I have it like this and there's no like lighting or anything involved in it, like it's going to be a little bit of a problem that I really can't like fix in Lumen like very easily without spending a lot of time on it. But by putting in stuff like this, you automatically have light. And it is super important to get that up and running. Like this looks great, but if I wanted to really make sure that this like shown, I might put like a pillar in the middle of this and then like run some signs and then make this around that so that I have like light coming out from the inside to give more of this. Like as you can see, like very dark around here, doesn't light up a lot. You can see it doesn't light up a lot, but if you have this, you very quickly get all the light you need without having to deal with like power setups to like power, like lights and stuff like that, using the signs. And having a bunch of these different blueprints for floor, for ceiling, and for walls is really, really good. I haven't like built all of those blueprints out yet, because I'm not necessarily certain of what I want them to look like, and I kind of want to be able to really make something really special when it comes to it. And I haven't had time to do that. So yeah, I basically have a few different kind of decorations. One of the things that I did do, let's see, where are you, is I made a support pillar that goes with the pipe slash pipe slash conveyor bus over here. If I load you up again, there, and if we look at this, you can see underneath when it's loaded. Can you load? Oh, it just takes a while because of all the pipe. Okay, so if we look down here, as you can see, this setup very, very much resembles what I have made over here, because I wanted to have a pillar that I could attach to it to make sure that it looked like attached to the ground and supported. And having those kinds of blueprints set up, and especially if you're playing with Lumen, include lights to make it easier for yourself. Then having a bunch of those blueprints makes building and having smaller elements, instead of trying to fix like a whole ass wall setup and like all that kind of stuff. The details, if you have those figured out, you can combine them in different ways to create unique builds. Like, so you're using blueprints without necessarily creating like the same factory 24 times. Like, you don't have to do that if you make the details, just smack down a wall, any wall, and then see what details fits here, what lighting fits in here. Do I want to have more like curves, or do I want to have more like straight lines? Like that kind of stuff. Really, really good to have. Now let's move on to the next. Now this doesn't look like much. It's like, okay, why is there just two, like, I don't understand. This is a said fighting fix. So if we look here, you can see that one of these is slightly higher than the other. And the reason for that is, so if we make things clip like so, that we don't get problems. Now, a lot of this, I want to be clear, a lot of this has been fixed by Coffee Stain already. So you will get very clean, like, overlaps with no, like, blinking, like, textures. But there sometimes end up, you sometimes end up with, like, with that specific thing, and you don't necessarily want it. So this is a great way of avoiding that. We saw some of that said fighting happening, yeah, up here. So you can see how it's like blinking and doing its thing. That's said fighting. And when you get that on like all the foundations you're placing, because there's a little bit of overlap because you're making a circle or whatever it is, or you're making like a 45-degree corner or something like that, then to avoid that, you make one foundation, you place this blueprint here. It's just one foundation, and now this is your starting point for the section you want to be shown. So I can make this into any material. I can make this, okay, your grip metal now. Meaning that if I take any foundation, like a 4-meter foundation, and let's see if I can grab 4-meter foundation that is concrete, and I make you snap in here, what's going to happen is I will have the grip metal being the prioritized. So if you're trying to make a path, for example, and you're using grip metal, and you want to have like decorations like this going along, and maybe like specifically you do this and want holes, so you do place another one there, and like I'm snapping it to it so it stays, and then I do this, boom, and boom, right? As you can see, everything like works. And I have these like tiny holes. Maybe I have light down here or something like that. But now it works. It's prioritizing this. So I don't have to worry about, like, if I'm doing this with a normal foundation, it's like, I'm not necessarily certain about like which foundation will win and come out on top, so that I get like the good looking path that I want. So yeah, that's a really good thing to have to use, because it's like not enough of a shift to cause any problems with anything or misalign anything. Not really, not in a noticeable way. But it is definitely enough of a shift that you can decide which foundation you want to be on top. So with that said, we are moving on to our next blueprints. And we're talking sorters and sushi belts. So when you're dealing with a smaller, like you're not making screws or something like that, and you don't necessarily have a full belt, but you need to sort stuff, then having something like this, in this case it's all the like animal remains. When you kill all the animals, instead of having to go, okay, I'm gonna put some animal remains in here, then go here, I'm gonna put some animal remains in here, I'm gonna go here. You literally just like have one container that is hooked up, it goes in here, and it will automatically put all the hog remains into this. And remember, it's super important that this is at an any undefined, not just any. Because otherwise it's gonna send anything down, not just any undefined, which means it will split the hog remains between these two if it's on an any and then hogs here. So to make sure that that works, any undefined and then the item that you want filtered out. And then you send the rest, and then you filter another time with the hatchers, they go down there, and then you have the spitter, they go down there. And by the time you're here, like I've put this up just as a principle thing, you don't necessarily need it because you're only gonna have stinger remains left, so technically you could do this and it would be no problem, because like that final thing is not just the final thing. But if you want to make this like run a longer line, you still need to have that splitter there so that you can attach that to something. Like if you want to have send in, for example, wood, leaves, like all that kind of stuff, and you just want to like make sure that it runs on its own lines. You don't want to have to mess with it. You just smack in all the nature like stuff you find in one box and it just sorts it perfectly. Then having stuff like this set up is really good. Then you can like take this and run into processing lines and stuff like that. I have a version of that I can show you guys, where we're looking at, where are you? There. So this is remains sorting and processing, where everything will go in, it will get sorted, all the remains, and then they will also be processed over here into alien protein and then merged onto a single line because that fits on the belts. So yeah, like you can do a lot of this, but having like for certain things that are like super standard and you know you're gonna have to deal with them, and having like blueprints like that, especially early game, like you've just unlocked blueprints pretty much, and then like already having these blueprints set up from a creative world, like copy pasting them into your like blueprint folder or immediately setting them up when you unlock it, is really good, because it means that you can like wave goodbye to all the small setups that still take 15 minutes to set up because you have to run the belts and everything. Yeah, I have a lot of examples of this in here. Like I have a protein biomass setup. Like instead of having to build a bunch of like these manifolds and everything, I haven't set up the like merging out of this. But essentially, like these are clocked the way that I want to, and they handle all of the protein that I want them to. And like having all of this is very good, because it means that you can save 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and ultimately what that means is that you will save hours and hours and hours, like smashing down, because you go like, yeah, but that's so fast, so I'm just gonna do it by hand. But what you don't realize is it has taken you half an hour to set up that small thing, because you're comparing it like unintentionally comparing it to, yeah, but that heavy modular frame factory took me like 36 hours to set up. This is nothing. Okay, but if you have all of these separate different little blueprints set up for certain smaller things, and then combine that with this stuff, with the templates and then with this stuff, those 36 hours might be maybe turns into 15 hours to build that thing instead, meaning you have a less likely outcome of like burning yourself out on a project, which is really, really good in my opinion. And now let's move on to our next blueprint. And now we're looking at more of like the challenge type blueprint. So in this case, it is a blueprint that, or the example I'm using here is a blueprint that is a very like over-engineered version of a constructor. So if we look at this, like no, this is a template. And not only do I have this template, I have a second template, because if we look at the belts, the direction, this is a left to right blueprint. So if I load it up, the different, or the other one, this one, boom, I have belts going the other direction, right to left. So I've made two templates and I have like over-engineered them with light. I have put in all the visual details. I've put in all that kind of stuff. And this template is for a single factory specifically. And I'm doing that so that I can challenge myself on the design and the logistics of like creating versions and variants and like making each factory feel unique. Because if I don't, the risk I run by doing like a single kind of blueprint, like if I only use these, is that if I build 10 factories, all 10 factories look the same. So by making kind of like this factory style is this, and then I create all the templates. So if we look in here, I have a number of different blueprints that are all related specifically to the constructor template. And that is cast screw here, are directly related to that. The iron pipe, that's the alternative recipe that uses iron instead. The iron plate constructors, there's like a wide Mark III one. I don't know why I have three of these. Alt, I don't know why I have three. But then I iron rods constructors, and like that's for a single factory. But then next, like if I want to do this again or challenge myself this way again, then the next factory, if I need iron plates there, I'm not going to use this blueprint for like iron plates. I'm going to make an entirely new blueprint that is for that factory, that I have like set up like an over-engineered version of this. Another like over-engineered version of something that I have made is the coal generators that I'm using in the game, in my Let's Play. And if you look at this, you can see all the light is put in. These are put in like to like now my colors are off because my custom. If you look into customize, the colors are off for what I am using. But never mind that. If you look at these, they are like properly set up. They have everything. They have the power plugged in. They have like they're functionally all there, right? The main difference, and then I have one. The other one is the reverse of this. So the belt goes the other direction, so you can place them like opposite each other to have like a corridor with it if you want to. So like essentially, I have created like an over-engineered version of like two of these rather than like having, because technically in the blueprint you can fit three of them. I just wanted to like add in a lot of detail and lighting and shapes and depth and all that kind of stuff instead of just like fixing the logistics and then go and smack down a ton of them and have all the logistics already fixed. I wanted to challenge myself design wise, and I wanted to create a style for my coal generators and the power plant that I was building. So I 100% went all out and like challenged myself and said like, okay, can I create like almost like a water tank, backlit water tank effect with the blue light, or like can I make that work somehow? That kind of stuff. These are really, really good. I would say that they are more for like more advanced players who have more of an understanding. But I also think that new players should try some version of this, even if it doesn't have to be as detailed or use like the same amount of like building tricks that can create like all of this kind of stuff. You don't have to do that, but something that is like unique to kind of like break up monotony of just placing a bunch of manifolds. I think that's really, really important to have. So that's why it ended up in this list. Now let's move on to our next blueprint. We are looking at infrastructure blueprints now. So what we're looking at here is an example. And this has a road. It has a laid out section up top where you can place railways. It has the power nodes going all the way through. So if we look here, it has power nodes that are easily accessible and available. That one is a little bit off center, but never mind. And it has everything. This is like a blueprint that you can place down, and the longer you make the roads, the more infrastructure you have to use that you don't have to manually place down all the time. So for me, these are like super, super important, like must-haves in terms of like having the infrastructure be easily expandable for your world, like placing down power towers, like making blueprints that are like power towers with all the decorations they want, or like with hooked in like railway supports or roads or whatever you want, really. That is like super important in my opinion, because it means that you can expand on your factories and how much of the world you're utilizing very, very quickly without having to go like, oh no, now I have to go and place 50 more like power towers, and I have to go and like pull a bunch of belts, and the resources are so far away. Ugh. Like with these kinds of things, and I have like, this is one. I have a bunch of them with different road slopes, T-junctions, full-on junctions, and then this is a version of the straight road, and like I have like over-engineered it now to kind of include more than what I'm using for it in the Let's Play as it stands right now. If I were to make like a Mark II version of that, it would probably like look something along the lines of this. So yeah. And with this said, you can make this in any way, shape, form you want. I wanted to have like almost like a sewer system that I ran like conveyor buses and pipe buses and like the power through, and then I have a road up top. So this is empty in my normal blueprints, and it is like I don't have this top section for the railways, because I made this for a city that doesn't use railways, and that will have a completely separate railway infrastructure system compared to the rest of the city. So for that reason, it's like a different thing. I just wanted to mock up a blueprint that you guys can use as like a inspiration for how you make your stuff. And yeah, I can show you if I load a different one here. If I go into the full-on junction here, you can see that I took the time to design everything and give myself the space so that I could easily like place down a junction that can go in all directions, or I can place down so that I can go up or down by simply smacking down. Let's see, where are you? Incline there. So I have a very, very simple to use incline with an open side, so that I can access and pull in and out resources as needed from my sewer logistics system, and then still have my tractors and trucks driving up top. So I have a bunch of these different like infrastructure like blueprints that has simply the purpose of making it easy for me to expand without having to spend a metric crapload of time like building the same thing over and over and over again. I don't know why I haven't placed down that one. That's a mistake on my part. But yeah, like you definitely need some version of this, even if that version is literally just like a like conveyor bus with like a little bit of hyper tubes on or whatever like that, so that you can move solid objects, liquids, and power And then you look at like what vehicles do you want to be able to use. You're looking at trains, trucks, drones, anything that needs like infrastructure. Have that as much as of a blueprint as you can, and you will have a lot easier time expanding and actually utilizing the entire world's worth of resources, not just like the biome you're started in or the closest vicinity to you. So we'll move on to our final blueprints. All right, we are now looking at the hyper cannon blueprints. So for those who don't know, if you place down these supports on a line, like so you have support, and then you move one out, one extra out, and you keep going like this. And you place this, following up. So, and you make sure that like the arrows are pointing in the same direction for the entrances. And then you take the hypertube itself and you attach it to the entrance and then snap it to the next support and then stop. So there's no no connection between this and this. So you have, in this case, there's 3 sections. This is a 7 section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the 7th is the launcher. And that can then throw you across the world. If you have enough of them and everything, you can literally throw yourself from down here all the way up into... Yeah, I literally have one in my Let's Play world that can throw me from, I would say, around here, give or take. And it just launches me literally to the other side of the world. And that is a great way of traversing the world without having to spend a ton of time running or driving or going with trains or using zip lines if you want to go to a different part of the world. This one specifically is made so that it kind of has enough power to throw you across the grassy fields, more or less. And the reason I wanted to include these blueprints is because they are super important to make the game convenient, to expand your reach, so to speak. Because if it takes you 20 minutes, half an hour to fight your way on foot from here up to the Dune Desert, it's more likely that you go, never mind that, and you just stay where you are. So to avoid that, instead you use hypercannons. And a good tip is set up hypercannons in both directions. Have a hypercannon setup that throws you home as well as there, so that you can get back to your base and your factories as easily as you can get out to that. So one of my recent plans is the entire map is not set up, but there are a bunch of different biomes around the map, and I want to have a hypercannon setup that can throw me to each individual biome, and each individual biome also throws me back home to the starting location. And then I am also building 4 cities in my Let's Play. So the capital, Clearhaven, will have its own hypercannon setup that takes me to all the other cities, and all the other cities will have hypercannons that also take them, can take me back to Clearhaven. So Clearhaven is the core of everything, it's where I go to everywhere, and I can get back there from everywhere. And these blueprints are really, really good because it means that you don't have to go through the whole 1 and 2 and then 3 and blah, 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 and then I need to place that down, and I need to place out the tubes, and I need power. You don't have to do that. You can just smack down, boom, now I have a cannon, I can yeet myself across the world. And having those is really, really, really good. And there are different versions of this. This is just a normal straight hypertube cannon, but then you can also make one that loops. So you have you go in, and then it throws you around in a circle and speeds you up more and more and more and more. And then when you have the speed you want, you hold the right direction button to hit a different entrance that is this version or this section that just throws you. So depending how far you want to go, so it's more of a dynamic system. I prefer this system simply because it's like smaller, like in width. So for me, that's more important. And those are our 10 blueprints, or rather blueprint sets. So I hope that you have been inspired. I hope that some of these might have been new to you if you are more used to the game. And I hope that if you are completely new to the game, that you are kind of inspired, like to first of all to get to the point where you can unlock the blueprints, but also that you have an idea for what to build. And remember, all of my blueprints are available in the Discord in the chat called Sat Chat. There's a pinned post with a link to a Google Drive. In that Google Drive, there is a folder called Blueprints. So all of my blueprints that are there, and you can just like download them and put them into your blueprints folder, and for whatever save you want to use them in, and you will have access to everything that I'm also using. So very, very much appreciate you staying on to the end. If you have enjoyed this video and you want to see a lot more of these videos or longer videos or whatever it is, I need your support. And the way that you can support, other than subscribing, because you're always welcome to just subscribe and enjoy the content as is, but if you want to support and go above and beyond, I have memberships on YouTube that are open that will give you access to some nice perks, which is among others access to like exclusive chats in Discord. You will be able to vote on future content, like if I'm picking between different games and stuff like that, I will put them up into a vote in those chats so that people can, members and Patreons can support. Because I also have a Patreon, it's the same thing. Yeah, so very much look forward to seeing you guys show up. My goal for now is getting 10 members. I have 3. And I am very, very much looking forward to who's going to be the 4th. So with that said, I am ending this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a really good time, everyone, and bye!